So we are here in Los Angeles for the Future at Travel experience, and I'm joined here by Ian Law, who is Chief Digital Transformation Officer of Los Angeles World Airports. Ian, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Lovely to see you, Holly. Welcome to LA.
Thank you. So firstly, if you could please give us a brief overview of the work that you do as Chief Digital Transformation Officer.
So it's really to set direction for digital transformation for the airport, to enable it through, putting the right funding mechanisms in place, procurement, and so on and so forth, so that we can actually do it, and then incubating it in the organization. I think there's a lot for the organization to absorb in that type of transformation. So you've got to kind of help it along as well with my colleagues and everybody else we work with.
Excellent. And where is LAWA on its digital transformation journey?
Well, I think all airports are probably at the early bit. I think LAWA's probably a bit farther on, but still in its early stages. And that's largely thanks to Justin Erbachi, who's our outgoing CEO, but obviously had my role at one point in the past. And so he was a huge sponsor of technology at the airport. So it's kind of been in good hands for several years. And I think so he's helped move it on quite a bit. And so programs like, online car parking and virtual queuing and online food ordering and things, these are all things that he championed way back. And so we're kind of well into those already.
And of course, it is a journey, and I suppose the goalposts will always be moving as well as new technology becomes available. Now, LAX has the largest deployment of biometric boarding gates in the US, with over 50 airlines using the technology. So great project. What have been the key learnings so far, and what is next?
I'd say it's a great technology. It's, in terms of just the raw measure of how fast can you process passengers at boarding. It's really fantastic. It's touchless. I'd love to see this. This is in the international side. I'd love to see this working on the domestic side as well, and also with security. I think there's a huge potential for these kinds of solutions. But it's also highlighted the challenges for adoption, and it's not easy to just put it on, to put it there, and for airlines to change a long-held practice of boarding, which has always worked for them, let's say, over many years, and now try to shift to something new. And we had the FTE kicked off a startup event yesterday that I spoke at as well, and I talked about the challenge it was about innovation, and I talked about the challenge of innovation orchestration, actually getting innovations into an organization and actually getting them to take hold. And that biometric cameras is a really good example of just how closely we have to partner with the airlines and everybody else to make sure that the actual staff are used to it and the take-up is strong.
Absolutely, collaboration is key.
It is.
Now, how does your work as Chief Digital Transformation Officer feed into the organization's sustainability goals?
Well, closely, because I think the role of every leader and of all the leaders in the organization is to incorporate sustainability into their respective bits of the business. I think what's interesting is that the airports generally, and I take this from my ACI World Airports IT Standing Committee perspective, is that we've all found it challenging for quite a while to figure out how do we bring this the technology bit and the sustainability bit together. And you probably know that Stuart Bloom, before he exited as the CIO of Amsterdam, championed a lot of work on something called the twin transition, which is the bringing together of sustainability and IT. And we've adopted that now as an early starter. I think they've got 4 airports around the world as this kind of pilot of that, and we're one of them.
That sounds really exciting. So if you had, Ian, if you had carte blanche and money was no object, which 3 technologies would you be implementing at your airports and why?
So I think first off, I'll say AI generally. There's a very big piece there. The second one I think is specifically the video AI world. I think is amazing. If you think of it, we've put cameras into all of our airports, really fundamentally as for security originally, but now these are the eyes of the airport. And I think with video AI particularly, we can start to open up the role of those cameras to be able to give us an awful lot more, just in terms of understanding how many people are there, where the crowds are, and so on and so forth. So the management of the airport, I think, will be made a lot more intelligent by the use of these solutions. And I think then that if somebody just gave me anything I wanted, I probably need to, as I move, we're doing a huge cloud migration at the moment, and I'm moving a lot of on-premise equipment out of the airport and into the cloud. But I think I want to fill all that space I'm vacating with lots of GPUs for the AI processing. I think that's going to be really fundamental for us over the next few years.
Excellent, thank you. Now, are there any technology trends that you have your eye on outside the airport sector that you think might be making its way here in the future?
I think it's as much the. I think there are a few things. One is I watch a lot of what's going on with omni-channel in other sectors that traditionally have very big direct-to-consumer businesses, because airports, now that they're selling stuff digitally, so online car parking, online food ordering, and things I mentioned earlier, we're now in the direct-to-consumer business. And we weren't before. In America particularly, we were more the wholesaler and the airline was the retailer. But now we have this retail relationship with passengers as well, and travelers. So that direct-to-consumer, being able to handle queries through multiple channels and deal with people in a joined up way is going to become very important for us. And so I watch that and what's going on in other sectors. And of course, digital transformation is different in other sectors as well. And so I keep a close eye on what's going on in others and how they're achieving what they're achieving. We'll probably talk about it later today, but banking is one of them, where they essentially have taken people out of the high street branch and we're now doing it all from home.
Absolutely. So what is your vision for the future of the digital passenger experience through LAX?
I think really that passengers will come to LAX and come to it rather than go through it, and that the digital experience will make that coming to way more valuable than the going through. Not that we don't want them to get on their flights, but we think that there's a lot more the airport can offer in terms of just experience at the airport. And I think the more that we can bring experience to people whereby they enjoy being at the airport as opposed to just feeling that it's a kind of a place they've got to get through, the better it'll be for them and for us, because it helps us manage demand as well. And I think the way to get to that, I don't think you can do that purely physically. I think digital experience is the enabler of that shift. And that's a huge shift. That would be a huge shift.
So you want the airport to be a destination in its own right? I
do.
Do you think that the airport could cope with people coming a lot earlier?
Well, that's why I said demand management a second ago, because I think there are times when we can and times when we can't. And I think that's the technological challenge, which is how do I load balance my airport? There are also times when they do all come together at the moment. And if I could get some of them to come a bit earlier, that would be better for the airports, for our security operations, for our baggage handling operations, and so on and so forth. So it'll be a mix of both.
Great. And then the final question for you is, what is keeping you awake at night?
Very little at the moment, Holly. but on a real point of that, I did make the point earlier about AI and how that's going to fit into our environment. I think that's just so new, and it's fascinating. And I think it's going to take up a lot of airport technologists' bandwidth, and from the business side as well over the next few years, figuring out how this is all going to work and what it's going to do and what it's going to promise, and actually then getting it in and doing it.
Ian, that was my final question. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Holly.